Hey there, Chinese pens. A lot of people are saying you should buy a Chinese pen, probably. It's tremendous. It's wonderful. You will really like it. So that's what I did. I saw this pen on AliExpress, the Junlai 930, and it was advertised as having a number 9 nib. And I thought, number 9 nib, pippity poppity, show me the zoppity. I want to see this. And I was blown away. I'll come out and say it straight away. Out of the box, pen wrote beautifully. I've had one small issue. I'll address that in likes and dislikes. It is indeed a colossal nib. Better to show you when the camera is tilted down. I'll do that. I'll cover the parts of the pen, do a writing sample. I'll tell you what I like about it, what I don't like about it. But this pen, in my mind, has a lot going for it. And it's really well made and a really pleasant writer. So I don't know what else to say. It's fantastic, really. Let's get started. Okay, let's talk about this Junlai 930. It's made in Shanghai. It's very much like a Montblanc 149, but bigger. It has a piston filler. It has a number 9 nib in fine, medium, or broad, and steel. It has an ink window, and I paid on AliExpress 57 Canadian. That included shipping. So it's, relatively speaking, fairly affordable. Let's look at the box. It came in this box. The box was in this particular form too. It was definitely crushed, but the pen was fine, so I don't really care. There is some cardboard in it. The pen kind of comes clipped to that. And again, it survived. It was in a, I think, in a little plastic sleeve. So you get that. I don't know what else there is to show you in the box. I mean, it's marked B for broad. It's just cardboard. I like it. You can just recycle it. I mean, I don't think it's worth keeping this, you know. There was a manual. Here it says Jun-L, but on AliExpress it said Junlai. It's a manual written in Chinese. I'm assuming Mandarin, I don't know. So I cannot read this. But it comes with pictures for people like me who cannot read that. It has all the parts of the pen, which I think is quite nice. It gives you filling instructions, and it looks like you can disassemble this pen because I just found that AliExpress also sells a wrench for this pen. I will come back to wrenches in just a second. Oh, and by the way, there was one more thing that came with the pen, which I always think is quite nice. Just make sure you understand how to use this. This is grease. So it's not water, it's definitely not ink. You can pop that, again, disassemble the pen, at least take the nib unit out, put a little bit inside, put the piston up and down, and it lubricates the piston. Do not put this in a cartridge converter pen and think, oh, that's nice clear ink, because that, once this gets into a nib and feed, it's a pain to clean out. So just don't do it. That will really hamper ink flow. Let's talk about the pen. It's a big one. Here we have the pen next to a Pilot Metropolitan. So you can see this is a big pen, substantial length and girth. Clearly very, 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 very much inspired by the Montblanc 149, the flagship of Montblanc pens. Now, I don't have a 149, but I have a Conid king size bulk filler, which, if I remember correctly, is practically the same size as a Montblanc 149. If I'm wrong, please correct me. I tried to look up some pictures online, and I found Dries, the pencil case blog's pictures, and he had 149. I'm pretty sure, and with Conids in it, I'm pretty sure it's about the same size. But if I'm off, please comment. Assuming this is indeed 149 sized, which the 149 in the Montblanc range is really just a girthier version of the 146. It's almost the same length, and it has a number 9 as opposed to a number 6 nib. That's where the 6 and the 9 in 146 and 149 come from. The one stands for Meisterstück range, so the highest tier. They don't have 200, 300 range pens anymore, but they used to. And then the 4 stands for their telescopic piston, and it's not really a telescopic piston anymore, but that doesn't matter. It's piston filled. And then there is the Traveler, and then that's still a 4, but even though it actually takes cartridges. But once upon a time, that's where the numbers came from, and it's not a Mont Blanc review. So what you see in this Junlai is much more length, and may even be a bit more girth. So, big pen. Number 9 nib. So to put this in perspective, I was just doing some other reviews. I have for you a couple pens here, and it's going to be painful to try and make them not roll. But here we have a Colo Tino. This is a number 5 nib. This is a Cusado pen, but it has a number 6 narwhal nib. And then here I have the Connet, which does not have the Connet nib on it, but it is a steel number 8 nib. Remember, these numbers just refer to the diameter of the feed, right? So it's 5, 6, 8 millimeters. And then here we have the Junlai nib, 9 millimeters. It's a whopper. A number 8 nib is already very big. Would this pen have anything but a number 9 nib? I think it would look woefully disproportionate. I am just trying to cap some pens here, so give me 1 second. I'll try to entertain you with my wonderful stories. Once upon a time, there was a short story. The end. Okay, so let's cover the parts of this pen. On top, finial, same material as the rest of the cap. This is a burgundy pen. They also come in black, they come in different finishes, and I'm assuming typically with Chinese pens they end up with a lot of different finishes, so I'm assuming we're going to see more of that. We have a clip that is a little bit Mont Blanc reminiscent with that kind of step down, but it's not a perfect copy. This center band design is certainly Mont Blanc-like. Here it says Junlai 930, made in Shanghai. And then we have the barrel, and we have the piston turning knob. When I say it's a big pen, I mean it is a big pen. And when you post it, it becomes very, very interesting. Okay, what else do we have? A ink window, which looks nice and is very useful. I know it's a little difficult to see because of the angle. I'm sorry, but it is there. Maybe this is better. Very useful in a piston filler. Turn this, piston moves up and down, draws up ink. Quite the barrel. I have gotten a fill of, I would say, about 1.8 milliliters of ink out of it. So it's quite the ink capacity. Remember, the converter is something like 0.9 milliliters or something, so it's quite nice. Feed that looks a bit like ebonite, but I'm assuming is just a plastic. It's a little hard to tell sometimes. And then we have this big nib. It says 2013. I'm assuming that's when Junlai was established. And then it looks like a laser engraving of the B for broad. They say it's a 1 millimeter line. I haven't measured it exactly, but I think it's fairly close to that. So it's definitely a broader nib. I find it really quite comfortable. Now, there are 2 slots in the nib collar there, and I have found, and I'll come back to this in likes and dislikes, that this wrench, which you get with a lot of Asvine pens, fits perfectly. I mean absolutely perfectly in those 2 slots. Maybe I can use this to disassemble the piston. I don't think so. It looked like a different shape. I haven't tried it. I will report back if I can. I'll do a disassembly line video. For now, interesting to note that you can use this, and I have used that, and we'll come back to why in the likes and dislikes. I'm sorry you may not have one of those wrenches lying around. Again, you can purchase a separate wrench. I'd recommend you to do that when you buy the pen, so that you have everything going and can disassemble at your heart's content. For now, let's zoom in a bit and let's see how the pen writes. So here we have a Junlai 930. There was a little bit of a skip there. This is the broad steel nib, and the ink is Monteverde Garnet, which is an ink I absolutely love, and I thought was a reasonably good match to the finish of the pen. I know it looks very dark, but it is a burgundy. It's a very dreary day here. Writing, smooth, I found with the Montblanc 149 that it's really quite girthy, and so a lot of people end up preferring the 146 simply because it's a little less girthy. You feel that girth here. My fingers do not all touch as I hold this pen, so if you like smaller pens, I would really just pass this one over. Okay. You saw an occasional skip here and there. This is coated paper. I have not really had any issues with it so far. So I think it's a little bit on the paper maybe. There is still quite a bit of ink, it's not running low, but be prepared for that. Again, during writing, normal writing, this was excessively fast. I haven't found any skips. See, it's fairly wet, not a super gusher, but just really nicely adjusted. It would be fairly easy to make it wetter if you wanted to. Line variation, it was a hard start there. Let's do the famous test for hard starts. That's going really smoothly. So I really don't think, I think that was just a little aberration. As often with really broad nibs, there's a little bit of an italic nature to it. I'll try to hold it really properly. You see these side strokes are a bit narrower than the down strokes. Sometimes almost unavoidable in nib geometry. Line variation, as always, very careful. It's not advertised as a flex nib. I do think you can squeeze out a bit, and given the price of the pen, I don't mind squeezing it a bit, but be careful. Again, it's not a flex nib. For those who enjoy such a thing, reverse writing is a full possibility. It gets a little drier, but not so dry that you can't read the writing, and you do take this from a broad, so I would say an extra fine. It's also really nice that this broad is an actual broad. I do find it appropriately named. It's not a super skinny nib. It's nice and broad, but not so broad that you cannot use it for everyday writing. So I really like the way they've done this. Okay, that's the pen. Let's discuss some likes and dislikes. What do I like? What do I not like about the Junlai 930? Fantastic writer. This one, it was difficult, right? Because I only had one. Out of the box, superb. I got the broad nib, because it's me. Smooth, wet flow without being an excessive gusher. Just beautiful. Really smooth, really nice. At the end of the day, that's what you buy it for. To me, very comfortable. Bear in mind, big pen. This is a large pen. If you have small hands, see if you can try it out from someone. It may not work for you. When posted, it gets to the kind of obscene level, really big. So be prepared for that. Nib, I think, is beautiful, not only because of the way it writes, it's just a really big nib. Beautiful big ball of tipping, that's just wonderful. Fantastic. Feed keeps up really well. I've done long writing sessions. It doesn't run dry. It keeps going and going. So fantastic. Piston filler. Hey, man, under 60 Canadian, piston filler. You can buy a wrench for it to open it up. I'll see if I have something that fits. I haven't tried that yet, but I will maybe get one of those wrenches. Who cares? They're a couple bucks. Ink window. So not only do you have a piston filler, you have an ink window. Things I don't like so much. Very Montblanc-like. Yeah, not everybody likes that. I get it. I have feelings about it too. Here's the thing. In my mind, and this is going to be blasphemy to some people, so I don't mean to offend anyone, but in my mind, this is what the 149 should have been. Because the 149 is not much longer than a 146, just a lot stockier. And to me, it's great, but it looks a little disproportionate. These proportions to me work perfectly. It has the girth and it has the length, and both are important. So I've read in Cosmo. So it matters how they created those proportions. It really works well, and I find that quite impressive. But people are going to, I don't mean to give anyone a fit. The 149 is the OG, it's the flagship pen, it's on a completely different price scale. It has a gold nib. I get it. I get your point. It's fine. But if you don't want to spend that amount of money, and you do want to have a bigger pen with a big nib that looks a bit like it, you can even get these in black or whatever sort of more Mont Blanc-ish color. You can do that. I'm not saying people should copy designs. Note that it does not have a white star. I know it's Mont Blanc Peak. We've had that discussion in the past, but to me it's a tremendous pen. Issues. First issue is it doesn't fit in a lot of pen cases because it's so big. It'll stick out, and if they have a flap, as mine pen case does, it likely won't fit. So you may have to think about some sort of other pen case. Other issues. I had one issue. I posted a picture of the pen on Instagram and Facebook, and my friend Rob, yes, from back in the Toronto days, I remember, he said, "Does yours leak?" Mine leaks around the nib, and I at that point I wrote, "Mine doesn't. I only had it for 1 or 2 days." I did more writing with it, and I did have the same issue. You can see this point where the nib meets the section. I don't know how well you can see, but it turns black. I'm assuming that's the nib color. I haven't fully disassembled this yet. There was a tiny gap between the end of the section and that black piece, which I'm assuming is the nib collar in which nib and feet are housed, and you screw that in. So what I did was I took a wrench. I record these videos not in the order in which you see the parts. So I do the intro, and then I do the likes and dislikes, and then I tilt the camera down. I've shown you that wrench already. I took that, fits perfectly, tightened it, and as of yet I've not had any more leakage, but I'll keep trying, and I'll see if I can post that somewhere at some point, maybe in the website post, if I do get that leakage still. I think it's just a matter of you need to tighten it a bit. What I'll do next when it's completely dry is I'll unscrew the nib unit entirely, put some silicone grease on it. I bet you that may fix it, because it wasn't leakage from the nib and feed out of the collar. It seemed to really come from under the collar. So I think some silicone grease may fix that issue. But that's an issue, right? You don't want your pen to leak. I've got the feeling we can fix this, but I'll report back on it. That's it. Yes, the design is definitely inspired by the 149, but I like it better. I like it better because it's I find it more proportional, and it writes beautifully, and it's a fraction of the price. It's not a Mont Blanc, I'm not saying it is. It's not that quality. It's not precious resin. I know all these things, sweethearts. I know. But I like it. What can I say? I've struggled to put it down. That's how much fun it was to write with. That's what a pen's for. So I'm sorry. It's how I feel. Nothing I can do about it. It's just the way it is. So I hope this was useful, and I'm glad to see you later.